Hello, welcome at Thriving Career Moms and guest expert interview series. I'm Sarah, and here at Thriving Career Moms, I believe that every ambitious mama deserves to have a fulfilling career and a happy family life. I know from my own experience as a mom of a toddler, it can be really overwhelming to make this happen. But here at Thriving Career Moms, the goal is to help you, mama, get clarity in your career path, grow in confidence, and lead a calm living so that you live happier days and be at your best, both for yourself and your kids and your family. Welcome again. And on this episode, have you ever tried to establish new habits for yourself or for your family, and then found that the excitement and motivation goes faster and you fall back to the previous habits, and then you wonder maybe it's not possible to make that change? Well, exactly, today we are going to help you on this week's episode, where you will learn how to build new habits that stick and move forward in your life vision, because they also work for busy mom life. Okay, so let me get started by welcoming our guest, Joree Rose, who is a licensed family therapist with a passion for helping people cultivate awareness and authentically show up so that they can be happy and fulfilled in all aspects of their lives. Hi, welcome,
Hey,
Joree.
Sarah. Thank you so much for having me on today.
How are you?
I am doing well. I know we've been planning this talk for a while, so it's happy that it's finally here, and I'm happy that it's Friday.
Yeah, me too. And I'm happy that it's sunny here finally in Berlin, because the
Oh,
weather
wow.
has been very unpredictable. Like today, rain, rain, and then very, very strange. Okay, let us know a little bit about yourself, your background. So, why do you do what you do?
Yeah.
And then maybe I have a special question after your introduction.
Perfect.
Curious about to know.
Well, like you said, I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area in Northern California. So, coming to you from across the world this morning, a morning for me, not morning for you. And in addition to knowing that I always wanted to be a therapist, I knew that I was not going to be a traditional therapist. I needed to figure out how to bring my whole self to the work. Often in therapy, you're a little bit more removed and have that kind of blank slate, as it's called. And that just didn't feel in alignment with who I am as a person and wanting to show up completely authentically. And it took me time to figure out how to do that. But ultimately, through a series of twists and turns that led me to figuring out who I was, I discovered mindfulness practice. And professionally, mindfulness gave me the framework to show up in the way that I really wanted to, because what I really believe is my therapy practice is an opportunity for me not to just help people, but to role model and to be honest, to say, hey, here's where I get stuck. Here's what it looks like. Here's what these tools look like when I put them into practice. And I know that these tools work because I used to be really stuck. And, some of my story is I woke up one day in my early 30s and was just like, how did I get here? I didn't remember consciously making the choices that I made to get to where I was. I kept doing what was next. And I thought, if I get to what's next, then I'll be happy. Then I'll be fulfilled. Then it'll all feel aligned and everything will work in the way that I had in my mind or in my heart. And the irony was, it was exactly as I envisioned it in my mind. I had the exact life that I really wanted, and yet something wasn't right. And that's where mindfulness came in, where it taught me literally for the first time how to slow down, how to get out of my head and out of those thoughts, because I was also raised with a lot of fear and anxiety. I believe that the world was a scary place. There's family trauma in my family of origin, and my parents got divorced when I was 3, and my dad committed suicide when I was 10. So there was a lot that I was raised with that wasn't just a what if, but the worst case scenarios happened. And so I really believe that the world was unsafe, a scary place, unpredictable, and that the unknown was scary.
I see.
And I tried to create and cultivate a life where I didn't have to worry about the unknown. But the irony was, I had the known and I wasn't really happy and fulfilled. So I had to learn how to embrace the unknown and recognize that that's where my fulfillment resided, that that's where contentment, that's where my authenticity existed. And so that is now the path that I teach others, and not only having greater awareness of where we're stuck and what's not working and how to shift out of those mindsets and those old narratives that really define us, but yet perhaps don't serve us.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's really inspiring story, and so true, because exactly, like keeping on focusing on the next thing, because we think that's the thing that will make us happy, but then yeah, it's really something that one can relate to. I think you answered the thing that the little questions that I was going to ask.
Yeah, please.
I was wondering, have you always been believing? Because I read that your motto is getting unstuck is possible. Yeah. Have you always been a believer that making change, long-lasting change, is possible, or not?
I did not always believe that, no. And I think it's because I didn't see a lot of people around me doing it. You know, people are, without judgment, this is observation, this is not judgment. People have a really easy time talking about what's wrong in their lives, right? We all could gather at a dinner party, if it weren't COVID, we could all gather at a dinner party and easily complain about what's wrong and find a lot of camaraderie in those complaints, in those challenges, in our unhappiness, in our frustrations. You rarely hear people talk about, oh my gosh, I wanted to make this change and then I did it and then I stuck to it and now I'm super happy. Like, people just don't have those conversations, partly because it can feel threatening to those who don't necessarily know how to make the change. So I didn't really see a lot of that around me. And, you know, I have a very, I love my mom dearly, and she and I were very, very close growing up. I was very dependent on her, and yet it was that very thing that taught me I don't want to stay stuck, because I saw her staying stuck in some of those traumas or in those belief systems and those narratives. So as close as I am with my mom, it was the reminder of who I didn't want to be.
Yeah.
In only certain aspects. In many aspects, she, you know, embodied a lot of things of who I wanted to be. But, and it's this, you know, strange thing. We are all survivors, right? The mere fact that you're listening to this right now, you're breathing, you're here right now, you've gotten through 100% of everything you never thought you could, right? So we have 100% success rate. But yet the things that don't easily change are our habits, or are our patterns, or things that we actually want to create shift to really move the needle to get our life to a different place, right? So being a survivor, getting through hard things and challenges isn't necessarily not making change, right? When I talk about getting unstuck, it's really a deeper level of the narrative, of the mindset, of the habit that will actually take you to where you want to go long term.
Yeah, I really get that, because we actually
did I clarify that?
Yeah. We make chance in our lives, but it's not
every
like
day.
that. Yeah, exactly. It's not like that. Maybe I call it intentional, or really with reflection about how we want our lives to be, right?
I mean, I think right now with COVID is the perfect example. We all made the change we all had to make, right? There is not one person on this planet who was not having to realign their habits and, you know, figure out how to do something differently once COVID hit. And yet, as we begin to slowly emerge, depending on where in the world you are and if you're vaccinated or what's the situation, many people are beginning to emerge into that post-COVID world in a way where they are automatically going back to those old habits and old patterns mindlessly. Right? And so I want to help people to say, hey, wait a second. I'm guessing there was a lot going on pre-COVID that you didn't like in your life. You were on the hamster wheel. You were too busy. You were spinning. You weren't really present. You were distracted. You were too tired. You didn't do self-care. You didn't know how to show up, fully in your relationships as a mom or as a wife or as a friend. And yet when we were forced to slow down due to COVID, we did things differently because we had to. And now we actually have a choice. We're at a crossroads. Do we want to go back to the way things were because they were actually working for us? And we liked all those habits that we adopted? Or now that we have the chance, this is the time, like right now, like as you make the choice, I don't have to go back to the way I always did things. And so it begs the question, why are you doing what you're doing?
Yeah, exactly. Why we get stuck in old habits and find it hard to make change, like new habits to lasting, like I'm curious to know that. And what are the main obstacles, maybe the 3 obstacles or so?
And so I think some of the main obstacles is mindset, is the belief that I can't do that.
The thing that like all people like, oh, okay, mindset, many people like.
But it might be a little bit of a cliche, but it's
exactly
true.
That's what I mean.
That it truly is. If you believe you can't, you won't. Bottom line, I've got 2 teenage daughters, and since they were little, I've always told them, as soon as you say you can't, you've decided you won't. You've already made the decision without even trying. But if you believe you can, there will be a way. And the mindset is not necessarily easy to change. And it starts with the belief that you can change it, right?
Okay.
If you don't believe,
the mindset.
Yeah. And I often, as a therapist, I often get the question from people, how do I know if this is a relationship I should stay in, for example, right? And one of my responses is always, well, if you and your partner are both in alignment and believing that change and growth is possible, then great, work on the relationship. If someone in the relationship says, no, I don't believe change and growth is possible, you're going to have a really hard time growing together to get you where you both want to be. But as long as you believe change and growth is possible, I can give you all the tools to get you there. But if you don't believe it, I can give you all the best tools in the world, but you're not going to use them.
Okay, so the start point is the mindset. Then, if the mindset is there, because I know sometimes we are, okay, I want to start waking up early or start using less social media. Those are things that I myself like once, and I want to become an early morning person as a mom, because I was like that before, but now it's hard. And also, like the other example, social media use, like I want to reduce that. I have the mindset, I'm ready. Okay, after that, what can be the next? What's when someone is over that obstacle, what are the other obstacles can happen? Because I can do it 1, 2, 3 days, but then okay, it starts to fall back usually.
So I first would ask, why is it you really want to make the change? That would be one of my questions I would ask a client is, those sound like great intentions, but what's your reasoning behind it? Is it because you believe that you should that you should get off social media? So, is it an expectation from somebody else? Is it you're feeling guilty? Is it feeling that mom guilt that we have, or, shame? So that would be one of the first questions, is to really get clear on why are we wanting to create this change? Is it in something that is in alignment, right? And we'll talk about values, I'm sure, but this is kind of, we'll start leading to that. But oftentimes when we think about creating change, it's easy to believe, if I get up early, I have to give up on more sleep, right? So we think about the sacrifice.
Yeah.
And I want to flip that to say, not what will you give up, but what will you gain?
Okay.
So you're focusing
The first
on.
created this like resistance,
Mhm.
right? Yeah, okay.
And so if we stay focused on the obstacle, it's hard to get up, then we're not focusing on we're not focusing on what am I gaining by getting up early. And I have an example I want to share with you in just a second about that. Same thing with social media, right? It depends on how we're looking at it. Like I am someone who I'm really busy right now in my life. I've got a full-time private practice. I'm building a full-time online business. I've got actually 2 memberships running at the moment and a podcast and 2 teenage daughters. Like I'm a busy mama.
Yeah.
And I enjoy getting on my phone at the end of the day because to me, it's a little bit of relaxation. I don't have to think. I can be mindless, and I'm consciously being mindless. I'm not mindlessly being mindless, right? But there is that switch that I've noticed if I'm on my phone where it went from a conscious awareness of, okay, I get to sit back. I'm just going to relax. I'm going to play a few games. I'm going to scroll Facebook, whatever. But there, some point becomes a switch in which it's no longer conscious. It's now mindless. That I have gotten past the point of relaxed and now I'm addicted. So it takes a lot of awareness to recognize, am I still relaxing right now? Or did I hit start to the next game without even awareness that I hit start because it's a habit?
Okay. Being aware of when it starts to be like a habit that is not really what we
That's not serving you.
wanted it. Yeah, serving you. Yeah.
Because at some point, last night was a perfect example. I had a crazy long day yesterday. It was like a 13-hour day, literally nonstop. And it was part of a big launch. And it started very early, taking my daughter to get her a vaccine at like 7:30 in the morning. It was a very long day. And at the end of the night, I was exhausted. And I was like, okay, I'm finally in bed. And I just want to get on my phone and just, relax. And I was playing the game I like to play to relax. And then I realized this isn't relaxing anymore. Now I flipped from, my 5 minutes or 10 minutes of relaxing to, I don't remember hitting start to the next game. At some point, I became unconscious in my awareness. And that was the awareness for me to say, I'm done now.
Okay.
So again, if you're not clear on why you're wanting to change the habits, then it's hard to enact them. And, I'm someone who also would love to be able to get up earlier because I want to exercise every day. That's something I needed to have for my self-care. And if I don't do it before I start my work day, that only leaves it at 6:00 at night and I'm tired. Yeah. And so, those first couple of days of setting my alarm at 6:30, it was really hard. But as I lied there, I kept the mindset of I can sleep more, which will be relaxing and will feel good. And if I get up, then I can relax later at the end of the day at 6:00 and I don't have to have the expectation on myself to exercise later. So now I've got a choice. Would I rather wake up now and get it over with so I can relax later? Or would I feel better if I slept more and then I did the exercise at 6:00? So it's kind of a trade-off, right? Yeah. So you've got to have the awareness of not just what am I going to give up by not changing the habit, but really focus on what am I gaining?
Yeah. Okay. So the mindset obstacle, then we have the clarity about why you want that new habit. This is can be an obstacle if it's not clear.
Sure.
Is there a third one, main one, or we can move to how to establish a new habit and maybe the values and so?
Well, the example I wanted to share with you was one of my most single life-defining moments I had was on a retreat in 2013. And in this retreat, to make a long story short, and if you want to hear the whole story, I've got some podcast episodes that I talked about it. So you can check out my podcast, which is Journey Forward with Joree Rose. But we were told that we were going to have to break a board, that there was these 2 cement blocks, and in between them was a meditation cushion. And across the top was a board. And it wasn't a piece of wood, it was a piece of interlocking plastic. But it was the, like martial arts style, the equivalent piece weight of a piece of wood. Well, when he told us that we were going to have to do this, we had just done an exercise on self-doubt and how self-doubt can often be the thing that prevents us from getting to where we want to get to in our lives. And the exercise had us push past self-doubt. Well, we then told we have to break a board. My very first thought that came to my mind was, I can't do that. And I kept saying, I can't do that. I have never done this. I can't do that. I don't know how to do this. And when it was finally my turn to go, there's about 65 people in the group. All I focused on was the board. But actually, the instructor had told us, when he said, what's the goal here? We said, well, you just told us the goal is to break the board. And he said, no, the goal is to hit the meditation cushion underneath. The board is simply in your way. So he told us that we had only one chance to break it. So I get up there, I'm telling myself I can't do this. I put my hand up, I come down, and I don't break it. And I said to myself, see, I told myself I couldn't do it. I just confirmed that I couldn't do it. So my self-doubt was accurate. About 65 people in the group, after everyone goes, he says, raise your hand if you didn't break the board. Only 6 people raised their hand. So I was embarrassed. I felt shameful. I felt like, see, I told myself I couldn't do it. Self-doubt, was right. So I got the chance to do it again. And something shifted in me where the first time I did it, I realized all of my energy, like my literal focus, but also my energy was focused on the board. And the board represents your obstacles.
Okay.
The cushion underneath represents your dreams and where you want to go in your life. And our obstacles are in the way of getting to our dreams. So the first time I did it, all I focused on was the obstacle, and I didn't break the board. The second time, when I had that awareness, I shifted, and all of my literal focus and energy went to the cushion. And I smacked through and I broke that board. And it literally was the single most life-defining moment for me, because I realized I no longer could let self-doubt be what stopped me from creating change. I no longer, my habit was to focus on the obstacle rather than focus on the goal or my intention or where I wanted to be. So it's really a matter of not just mindset, not just focusing on, why are you doing what you're doing, but where are you placing your energy? Are you placing your energy on, this is so hard, this sucks, I can't do this, others are doing this better than me? Or are we focusing it on, what are we gaining at the end?
Thank you for sharing this example. It's really a strong illustration of how is it. Thank you so much. Okay, so now we can move to when starting a habit. How can we make it easier? When I listened to one of your podcast episodes, you talked about setting a goal and how it can impact the way you approach a habit, and the need of flexibility and in starting a change. Can you expand on this maybe, and how to make habits easier to start?
I would first off say start small and meet yourself where you're at. If you start with a big goal, you're only human. You're likely not going to meet it, and not meeting it is going to prevent you from continuing to try to meet it. So if your goal is to exercise 5 times a week, which is a great goal, I would set the actual goal, let me exercise 1 time this week. Set a goal that you can attain so you can feel the success. Let the success build. If you want to start a meditation practice, this is what I teach, right? If you want to start a meditation practice and you have heard that you should meditate for 20 to 40 minutes a day, and you set the goal, I'm going to meditate for 20 minutes every day, you're never going to do that because it's a hard thing to start. I tell people start for 30 seconds. That's all. Start for 30 seconds. You can do 30 seconds. So meet yourself where you're at in a very compassionate way and start so small that you can attain it and you can build on the success. And then when you build on the success, you feel more momentum grow. I think when people expect to create change, they look for a 90% shift. They're looking for a big change. I'm talking about do the 1% shift. It's 1%. And then over time, that 1% is going to grow. If you set too big of a change, it's not going to stick. It's also, you know, I'm someone who have struggled with my weight over the years. And when I was younger, I had a lot of weight to lose. And I lost 25 pounds on my own. And then I joined Weight Watchers. And I had 30 pounds to go to get to my goal weight. And I thought, I can't lose 30 pounds, but I can lose one. All I had to do was lose 1 pound 30 times. I can lose 1 pound. If I stay with 30 pounds, my mind is going to get overwhelmed. I'm going to shut down. I'll say, I'll start tomorrow. But if I say my goal is to lose 1 pound, I can do that.
Yeah, this reminded me of myself when I always wanted to be like read books, a lot of books and so, and I never successfully did it. Like I keep buying books and not reading them until I discovered that the system of like we want rewards, being rewarded, feeling successful, and that's where comes starting small does make a difference. So I started like, okay, I will just read 1 page per day before going to bed, and until it's like consistent, and then I started witnessing it change.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does it have like a scientific explanation or anything? Like, I mean, I'm always curious from like our brain and things. I mean, what's
yeah,
the system behind making small?
Yeah, it's part of it is, you know, when we get overwhelmed and if we, you know, if we get anxious, overwhelmed, triggered, you know, if our emotional brain fires off, it shuts down our resources. So we've got our emotional brain and we've got our executive functioning. And this is where all of those tools reside that we need to access to enact the change. But if our emotions get, you know, if we start to look at something and we just get flooded by it and we just get, you know, shut down and we feel, you know, like we're struggling, we can't access our tools and our resources. So understanding how our brain works is really a benefit. And then also in our brain science, our brain is designed to focus on the negative. So our negativity bias will keep us pulled into focusing on what's wrong and what's not working. So we've got to consciously shift to focusing on the good.
And here is where mindfulness comes.
100%.
It's a way of life. I mean, I know in one of your episodes also you said like it's not something you to put on your to-do list. It's something
mindfulness is you put on your to-be list. How do you want to be in the world? How do you want to show up? How do you want to live your life consciously? Yeah, it's not something you add to your to-do list.
Okay. Because I know the time is running, so I just have one couple of questions. One question, not couple of questions, and then how we close that. Because as I am a mom and I have a family, I want to start also change in my family, new habits in my family. Is it possible to? How to do it, and is it possible to change somebody else, and how to start with it?
I wish I could tell you, yes, you can change somebody else. All you can do is role model the change you wish to see. Okay. That's all you can do. You cannot change anybody else. The only 2 things you can ever control are your breath and your response to what's happening. And especially as moms, I do a lot of parenting work, especially as a mom. We don't always role model the behaviors we want to see in our kids. So if you want to have your kids stop having temper tantrums and calm down, then you need to start off by role modeling that. And you can't be raising your voice. If you raise your voice and tell them to calm down, why would they stop their tantrum? You've just role modeled the exact opposite. So the very best way to create change in others is to enact it in yourself. If you expect others to change, you'll end up only frustrated and disappointed because expectations are the quickest path to suffering. So all you can do it is through one. I mean, you know, even in couples therapy, when I work with couples, you know, I can't change people say, I want to change my partner. Nope, it's an internal job, but you can role model.
Okay, thank you. About role modeling, because you mentioned an example that really we want to role model, especially as moms. But then because of the tiredness and all the things that we go through, it's hard to really do it. What's your advice for a mom who is finding it hard to role model being calm and things? What's your advice for her? To
work with me. I have a patient parenting course that I'm happy to give you a link for you to send out to your community, and I will give you a coupon code. The parenting piece is one of my most favorite pieces to teach, because we need to be able to enact the tools ourselves before we can expect our kids to be able to learn them. And it's really hard, and yet it's possible. And this is where mindful parenting is a practice. It's an ongoing practice. And so I have a course, it's 7 mini sessions that can guide you. The dual purpose of practicing mindfulness as a mom: one is it's going to give you the tools for you to stay calm and centered and grounded, but then it's going to be able to guide you in how to role model these to your kids. So you can actually shift the culture in your home. You can't change it because you're not responsible for other people, but you can shift how you show up. So I think this course would be a great, and it's quick. It's like each little lesson's like 10 minutes long. And so it's attainable for even a busy mom. You've got 10 minutes. You can create 10 minutes in your day. Yeah. But in absence of that was my little plug for that. But in absence of that, I would say connect with your breath. If you can find 30 seconds a few times a day just to pause and breathe, it's going to calm your brain. It's going to calm your body. If you've got the ability to connect with your breath, it'll prevent you from reacting. And you can also guide your kids in how to do the same. So unless you give yourself a baseline of how to slow down and be present and calm down, it's going to be really hard in the moment when you're triggered to enact that.
Okay, so practicing it in different moments, not necessarily in that.
When you're triggered, your brain's already shut down. You can't. Your access to your tools has been cut off. So you've got to practice this outside of the moment of being triggered, so you can build the muscle, so it's easier to access when you are triggered.
Okay, thank you. So we come now to how can we connect with you, and maybe how can we, if you want to share this course with our community?
The best way to connect with me is my website, joreerose.com. There you'll get access to me on social media. You'll find my podcast, and I have a section that says online courses. And Sarah, I will give the coupon code for your community for this parenting course. It's very simple, easy to remember. It's all lowercase, and it's Parenting 2020. So the course is called Patient Parenting. You'll find that on my website. I also have a growing community that I am just launching a lot of new work. So if it's something that you want to see what I have on the pipeline, if you sign up for the Patient Parenting course, you'll get access into my emails. So you'll be on board for all of the new things. I'm just creating a huge online program. So I'm really excited to share it. So the best way is to just get on my email list so you can get notifications. But the patient parenting course, I have to say, I'm really proud of this work because it's the tools that every parent needs.
Thank you so much for sharing the discount with us. And thank you for what you are doing for people around the world. Really, I can feel your passion and your sparkle.
Thank you.
And your truthness and authenticity.
Thank you, Sarah. That really means a lot. Authenticity is one of my highest values. And I'm, as you said, I'm very passionate about this work because I know that it can help and people need the tools.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to meet with you. And thank you for our listeners. Please don't hesitate. Go check Joree's website and get that course. I think I would check it myself.
Yes, please do.
And hopefully we can also have a session maybe with my members in the community. Speak to you soon, and bye bye.